This one's for you, Travis. Imagine this landscape from a 2D perspective, much like that little kid was talking about with the folders and the 40 guy. Even though you can't see the frames, it is all two-dimensional frames drawn and they're compressed together to fit one image, each one containing a different frame rate. Say for instance, the tree might be in a different slit than here in the where the street is in a different slit. The same thing with the cars moving. If you look this way, the car's now in a 2D plane. You get what I'm saying? Now technically, a fourth dimensional plus being in this plane would have a 360-degree view, much to the likes of all the gods that have been torn with the living tribunal and its godhead, or the beast. You get what I'm saying? You currently understand the beast as the entire system, because the entire system has an eye view no matter where you are of your location, unless you go 100% off the grid. Then you have to avoid the satellites. You feeling me? You rocking with me? So a being that has a dimension above that would have created this place, per se, the admin, would have a bird's eye view into the system itself. It could see everything that the system could see, plus it could see the system, how it functions. We could say it's much to the likes of how the architect would be in that room, or how Neo went to see the architect. You get me? You feel me? You hear what I'm saying? That's why there's so many labels, you dig? Now, I know at times you go to sleep, you wake up, you forget some of the stuff you let in the past, but this here again is a video for you. It's just like those trees. Each one of them, from the leaves down, would be in a different plane. That's where you came up with the pixels and the pixelation whenever you open your eyes, because it would literally be your graphical processing unit beginning to process the image that your brain, who is not here in this plane, is already thinking of. Now, they say that over there isn't rendered until you go past it. Now, technically, that's true from a quantum perspective. You think of Schrodinger's cat, right? Everything over there is currently inside the box. You don't know what type of car is coming across from there. And in predicting the future, you can say the next oncoming car is going to be a black car. But how accurate are you? It's a real good question. I should have went with silver. Oh, I was smack dab in the middle of grade and the silver came afterwards. But you see how that works? You would literally, in order to predict the future, have to be going on an intuitive basis, because the calculation would be so grand. Even though that's not rendered till you see it, because of all the opposing energies and the current energies you reside in, you're not entirely in your energy. Now, it is your calculation that when you have your own box to wake up and jump out of during the day, that entire calculation would change, because you wouldn't be influenced by any outside minds within your range. Now, what makes it even more scary is, say, if you went to the woods and you came out of the woods into a city. You get what I'm saying? This is where all that past crap came up. People kept interfering where, they want you to live in the country. Ooh, look, a death. Where they wanted you to live in the country and be away from the grid. But you decided, what was the point of living if you had kids to teach who might not want to choose to go off the grid completely? Now, everybody's out here whining about how this reality works, and you go, it was simply made for everyone that's here. It was their choice on how they used it. Now, here's the kicker. From a quantum perspective, you would have a bare minimum of 2 Earths functioning just like this. You would have one Earth, where you would have all these people that make their choices and they've created this that we're looking at. Then you would have another Earth that would be that perfect Garden of Eden. You understand me? You feel me? You see what I'm saying? Appreciate that. And with that perfect Garden of Eden, those realities would be parallel, because on one side you would have the ones that were creating, doing their thing, dreaming, and then on the other side you would have that one creation that you envision. Why? Because everyone here has a dream or a quantum reality that they want to live in. And even if you did all the multiversal calculations, you've seen and you've studied everything that everyone else is doing. And you've come to understand how the machine verifies what you're saying, how the shifts are verifying what you're saying. Say, for instance, those birds flying by, they're exactly like the black cats in the Matrix, where they say there's a shift in the Matrix. Now, technically, from a quantum energy perspective, a bus speed perspective in a simulation, each time one of these cars roll by, that is a shift in the grand design. Why? Because the admin would be coexisting in a world just like this without all the noise, which would be that interlacing traffic, those shifts. Now, when we took it to a sky perspective, we noticed that the airplanes were API changes. They would swoop in with energetic frequencies that changed the below, and that's how fast the light was moving. Man, it's pretty over there. Now, here's the kicker. You could go on to post this message on YouTube somewhere, or you can continue this lane that you're in right now, where you're going with the quantum flow of things in order to not force a change. Now, technically, you can get online, post this. Who knows who's going to see it? You know that in the quantum realm, even if you have one view on a video, there's another view where your video is one of the most popular videos. Now, that's scientific understanding. That's what I don't understand, why other scientists don't see it that way. Now, when it comes to chaos generation, it's not necessarily chaos. It's just a quantum wave collapse. Most of these magicians and wizards, they're seeing it as chaos magic, when in these moments in times, the way the technology has grown, it is a quantum wave collapse. Why? Because with each calculation, the system updates. And you've done a lot that you can to get past all those system updates, get past all the remembrance of everything. But you're notified on it on a daily basis, and you do your best to live life. And I'm proud of you for doing that. Because it's tough in this way, and it's tough to do it how they want you to do it, because it seems to get worse when you do it exactly how they want it. Say, for instance, the conversation you had earlier today about the mark of the beast and the updates and having to pay with your hand and your body. Technically, from a grand design perspective and yanking religion out of it, this supposed mark of the beast is already here in attached, accessorized form. And then you throw in the quantum science, it's just that it's going to a smaller perspective. You got to understand that we went from gigantic computers to smartwatches and everything in between. And even though we went from small televisions to gigantic televisions, they've gotten so thin that you can literally roll one out on a wall in wallpaper. Now, the calculation would be as to look at how the money's flowing from a scientific perspective. Now, if you take the emotion behind it and the other side, they have kind of some standpoints that they're standing on, right? Like they're tired of being bullied, which is understandable. Even though you live here, you can understand why the other side would be tired of being bullied. And they say that the US dollar won't collapse anytime soon. But if you look from a unified perspective, as in the universe is forcing these changes. If you take free will out of the equation and go, even though people believe they're moving in free will, and you look at it like the universe is forcing these changes, the decentralized would be the case. It'd be the same for AI. The universe would be instructing AI, because the AI would be calculated based off how the universe functions. Now, even in this moment, it's starting to make a lot more sense, because you look at it, and you look at everybody's wishes and wants and needs, and you go, they've been accumulated, and you can see how people are acting in these moments, partying. And even though you want to party, you understand that if the gold is extenuated life, even in the facts that AI has calculation wanting to destroy the humans, it wouldn't be feasibly possible for the universe to enact those changes. If you think about all the things that are going on in space, and you think about why there's life here and why we haven't found life elsewhere, it is a universal design. Now, what keeps you thinking from a true perspective and a pure perspective is you believe that you don't care who created it, why they created it, what it was created for. You want to understand why you see and ask these questions, and you go, the foundation is the preservation of life. It makes me wonder how when Atlantis got to their, what's the word I'm looking for? Got to their climax, for better choice of words, of technology, into their singularity. What was so grand that happened to them that we don't see them here? Now, I've got several theories for that. I mean, for all we know, Atlantis could have been taken from this dimensional plane you see here, this layered 2D perspective that we call 3D, which is technically beyond 8th dimensional if you think about the way we use the internet and our devices already. And I go, was it a shift to where they dematerialized from this area and went to another plane, while those who didn't make it remain to further the knowledge of the species? The same could be considered for those who built the pyramids when the Egyptians were here, because they had all these pictures for us to understand, but there have been no evidence of the bodies of these beings that have been here, nor how we found them in space. No burial grounds, no space. So it leads one to truly ask themselves what happened to those wise individuals and why they are no longer present here in our physical realm. Now, if you talk about everybody tapping in and these ancestors and this energy, one can ask the questions, is it a reincarnation from where these energies came in and they're attaching to these vessels here in order to explain the heights of civilizations past? To where they reincarnated in these vessels that we're familiar with seeing, taking over the previous lives to enact a grand scheme of plan to change the earth? Or could it be that they are communicating from a different dimensional plane with individuals who will be still and listen when the time comes in order for them to make the transmission? I mean, there's plenty of information out there, and we're putting all these things in the music, and we're putting all this stuff in the science. And I go, where is it coming from? You can hear many minds across the grid talking and speaking and acting on the same things, but they're all tying it to their current culture of living, which is understandable. But if you take all of those labels out, and we ask ourselves as a species, where is this information coming from? Then the whole picture changes. Because when we remove the labels of the things we've drawn up, the ideas that we've had, but we keep the information and we look at it as a whole, the entire picture changes. It's from my perspective, my understanding of quantum physics and the theory of everything, that you cannot produce that theory without each and every mythology, religion, theory, war, history, culture, and race inside of that calculation. But you have to remove specific things like pride and ego and selfishness and gluttony and all of that jazz. And I go, but if we look at it as a single strip of collected life data, then the entire story changes. Say we look at it as an entire planet filled with children, all brothers and sisters, and we go, look at what we've done to ourselves. We blame it on the devil, we blame it on God, we blame it on Muhammad, we blame it on demons, we blame it on spiritual warfare. And I go, when it all boils down to it, each and every single one of us was responsible for this 360 view that we have of Earth right now. And I go, if you think about all this preaching of healing, this love and light preaching, and I go, if you want to heal an entire species, you have to remove all the current labels that we understand. To me, it's those exact labels in the language that we've created that prevents us as a species from seeing the entire picture of life. Because not one of these technological devices will be in the hands of any of us individuals without assistance from another race, country, creed, or culture. None of this entertainment would be the same without assistance from another race, creed, or culture. None of the mental disruption and the trauma that we have would have been possible without assistance from another race, creed, or culture. Now they keep telling us that we're all in this together, but you take that one statement and you can say that statement's a lie. Because if we're all in this together, why aren't we examining the facets of quantum physics, spirituality, and consciousness on a planet-wide basis to understand what outside of this sphere is communicating with us? We take all those labels out of it. We take Thoth out of it. We take God out of it. We take Jesus out of it. We take demons out of it. We take all of the labels that we've created as a species and rip it away and go, what is communicating with all of us going, hey, something needs to change in order for our species to continue. Me, I look at it from a couple different perspectives. One, I look at it as a system as a whole to begin with. Because when I look at it as a system in its entirety, everyone changes. Not only do they become codes and programs and labels in a machine, you can see how each one of those is functioning based off programming from different sectors, different cultures, different religions. And I go, if you strip them of that programming and you notify them that, hey, it's quite possible that this simulation was created by something outside of it, that would force them to change their reality. Or like most do, they go, I don't know. But in the reality of things, if we remove all of the created labels that we have as a species and go, why are we all moving in the same direction, but we're fighting each other to get there? That changes the story. That takes the pressure off one individual and puts it on everybody. Not to change a global consciousness perspective. Not to me. Because if we were changing a global consciousness perspective, it would only take one individual to raise their hand and be like, hey, we're doing some shit wrong. I heard a voice from another place that said we need to do it this way, and that should be a wrap. But again, we have all of those labels thrown in between all these layers of reality, and we don't know how they function. Yet we're steadily telling each other what's right and wrong. Yeah, there are some things that are what they would call common sense. But then if you look back in history, the things that we call common sense now weren't even part of history. And I don't want to touch on all of that past stuff right now because I feel like I'd be explaining and taking away from this right here. But I don't know how many people have really paid attention. But I can say 7 years ago, my eyes did not see the sky the same way. Like all of that red that's in the sky now, it wasn't there 7 years ago. Why? Because before then, there were times where people were like, oh, if the sky's red, it's going to rain tomorrow. What was it, Navy? Or if the sky's red in the morning, it's going to rain, the next day or some shit like that. You get what I'm saying? But now it's technically red all the time. The sun goes down, it's red in the sky. There's people who posted pictures of pink skies. And I go, if there's all this debate about a simulation and quantum physics and quantum theories, and we still have all this war on our entertainment shows and all this fear mongering and all this pressure going out, I go, what are they trying to hide if more and more people are coming to these understandings? I can tell you this, from what I've seen, based off how you speak, people will throw a label on you. Based off how you think, people will throw a label on you before they take into consideration what you are actually saying. And if you can't speak it properly, they will not listen to you at all. That is tested fact through judgmental experiments. This is going to be too long for a real tea. Yeah, I know. And I go, you have some great minds out here that literally have no education. And you can see through YouTube channels that people, even though they're recording them, aren't taking these people seriously. Like I've seen videos of homeless people speaking straight facts, where the purpose of the video wasn't to hear and absorb the facts that were coming from the homeless person, but it was in order to gain some views because of how the homeless person was acting. Or you can have these great talented individuals who are absolutely homeless, yet because they have an addiction to this, they aren't taken seriously. I mean, talented. I've seen some singers on these different channels that just blow some of our mainstream singers out the water. People would say they got soul as opposed to this mainstream stuff that makes us a lot of money. And then I also consider the fact that, if money wasn't being made, people wouldn't go out here and do these things. But if they were being still, how else would they be using their mind? Because if people weren't out here forcing to make money, they might be able to be a little bit more creative in their endeavors. But you can see that great divide on the internet now with YouTube becoming another mainstream TV platform. Now, it really makes you wonder if we are in an age where we are experiencing this technological revolution, where they say this singularity is fastly approaching. And I can go, if we kind of look at it already, it's just a hop away. It's like everything that will make us transhumanized has already been tested through external accessorizing, from smartphones to smart glasses to smart watches to smart tattoos. Like they have smart tattoos where you can go get a tattoo like and have you some Avatar Last Airbender shit going on your arm. And I go, a lot of people are afraid of this RFID chip in their hand because they consider it the mark of the beast. And I go, but you already have a smartphone in your hand that's got NFC that can be used to tap and log you into work and bypass securities. You have smart watches where you can tap and pay for your goods and bypass securities. And I go, there are people that don't even use paper money anymore because of a trend. You feel me? And I go, if you look at it from two perspectives, you can say that this supposed mark of the beast is already here. Or you could say that it's coming because of these RFID chips. But if you look in other places, like Cali, they've already got this implemented. And I go, there are parts of the country that don't even know that that technology exists. Yet, we're all one and we're all in this together. Now again, to me, that forces me to look at this place as a system of operations, processes, and labels again, and go, where's the data interruption? And why is there data interruption between individuals of each sector? It's like, why are there different bus speeds and we are in a brand new 0 equals 1 age of technology? And I say 0 equals 1 because if you think about it, all the old math goes out the window with qubits because they're in a flux stage of 0 or 1. To me, that would mean 0 equals 1. And honestly, if you do the math properly and you follow all the guidelines, aside from the directions that say you can't divide by 0, you can divide by 0 through form factors and the manipulations across equal signs. That's as far into math as I'm getting. I'm just about sick, tired of math. Math makes me want to throw up some of the times. I know I didn't have enough storage space for this video, but the last portal's going down as the light from the sun continues to fade, and we're going to get into this darkened data set. That's probably the best way I can put it. To me, like, if when you start reading at a different perspective, the light shifts because there's more information within the light than when it goes night. To me, that's where those things, like when people saw demons come in, because the light shifts different at night. But as I've had verification and synchronicities from a friend, I can say that when you are wearing your glasses and you are seeing in HD, again, your brain's interpreting on a different frequency than if you don't have your glasses on. And again, this has been a test of mine because I went 30 something odd years without glasses, and lo and behold, when I put them on, it's like, man, I thought I was watching 4K TVs at the Best Buy store on the wall, and then I put these glasses on and I go, is that a living portal? You look at an OLED TV and you go, this is a bio-organic, a light emitting diode, organic light emitting diode. And I go, that's living matter generating a picture on a screen. I go, we as humans think that this living matter isn't somehow contemplating what's actually going on through the signal that's being fed through it. To me, that was just nonsense. I mean, when you got the targus, that's smaller than those diodes. That is a living, responsive organism. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop this video while I can. Sky looks pretty though, even though it's cloudy as hell.